Hi, this is Brad with Copper Creek Cuts, a lawn care company in Northeast Florida. Today, here at the Equip Expo at the Yakta booth. I made a short on this company because they have something I've never seen before. So one thing to think about when you're buying a mower is the health of the brand that you're buying from. You know, are they going to be around 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now? And that's a question mark with Yakta because they're brand new. But what I learned is that they actually have a sister company called Equip. They deal more in agricultural products, especially for dealing with livestock, cattle, that kind of thing. They have been in business for a very long time. Also, of note, that sister company Equip, when it comes to the way that they treat the customer, they have increased their warranty over the years from 5 years to 7 years to 15 years. So this is a sister company now, Yakta, that was founded on some of the same principles. And the reason I go to that isn't to puff Yakta up. I would be leery of buying a brand new startup. This is not really that, because they're taking all the stuff they've learned from that Equip company and implementing it into here, which I think is an important factor to consider. They've got 4 different models right now. They have a 710, which I believe is your mid-grade commercial. They have a 910, which is a full commercial. They've got a 510, which is like your residential grade, still built commercial. They also have one stand-on model here. But the 710 and the 910 are the most interesting to me because they are also something I've never seen before, this split frame mower design. So you may know I have a Ventrac, which is a tractor that accepts front or rear mounted attachments. I only have some front mounted ones. But the same idea here, this is a 0-turn power unit that has different attachments. I think right now they have 2 or 3 different deck sizes. They've got a snow blower, they are adding dethatchers, aerators. I think they've got some more stuff cooking up. But it's really neat because now with this one power base, you can have several different attachments. One thing to keep in mind, this is all prototype, subject to change. They're going to production in January. Currently it's the middle of October, but some of this stuff is still going to change. So if you have questions, keep that in mind. The first question I had for them is, what is the workflow? If I've bought this and I have, let's say, a mower deck and a dethatcher and an aerator, and I'm taking them all on the trailer for a job, how am I going to load it? Like, do I load the mower deck first and then disconnect and take this off of the trailer and then go to the next one? And yeah, that's basically the way this works. This is a dolly that plugs into the hitch here, and they're playing around with this. So when I saw this, I said, that's going to hang up on my trailer. When this is on my trailer and that's on my ramp, those weights are going to catch. And they said, yep, this is all prototype. This is going to change. The one we had before was even longer and we shortened it. So keep in mind, there are things that are going to change. But that's an important thing that I think we need to figure out is what does that workflow look like? So that's something they're looking at. But the reason that's important is because if this front half is gone, what's keeping you in the seat from flying forward is that dolly and the weights back there. So what'll that look like in the future? Not really sure, but that's the basic idea as it stands now. You can tell there's 3D printed parts. Of course, these are going to be cleaned up in the final production. This looks like some little kind of tray. I think you're going to have some USB plugs on some of these things for charging, so you can cover stuff up. Obviously a real nice suspension seat, and keep in mind this is the 710. I think the 910 is their top of the line, so there's going to be a little bit nicer upgrades on that too. You've got a rotary throttle. This is going to run the throttle on the EFI, which will factor into some of the displays and the screens. You'll actually be able to, if that engine throws a code, it'll display here, and then you'll have access to see what that code is, so you can repair it yourself without having to bring it into the shop. Well, I guess I should say you might be able to repair it yourself. That depends on you. One of the things that you're going to see is how surprisingly well built this thing is. Everything is 1/4-inch and 1/2-inch steel plate. Like these casters, they're 1/2-inch steel. The price point on this is ridiculously reasonable in my opinion. This, as it sits, is $12,500. So the Toro 2000 mower that I have, which is an entry-level commercial, I think maybe the 710 you could say is entry or a little above entry-level mower commercial. And I'm not throwing any shade on Toro, but I know some of the metal on my Toro is not this thick. So it's kind of neat to see something that's so well built that is as reasonably priced as it is. Here's the thing, I don't know if that extra weight is going to be a detriment. I live in Florida, so it rains a lot. there are certain yards that I have to skip after certain amounts of rain because I know that the tires are going to ruin the lawn. That gets worse the heavier your mower is. So will this be a bad thing long term? I don't know. We'll find out. I'm not sure about pulleys. The ones that they're using look pretty robust and heavy duty. Someone who knows more about pulleys can tell me if I'm right or wrong. So now I want to show you how this thing actually connects, because that is one of the neater parts. There's this little retention pin here. This comes out. So when you're in operation, this is the position. Obviously you'd have your pin in there. But what this lever does is activates these, I don't know if you call them cam locks or what, but if you lift up, you can see how on each side these guys go up and down. Those will index to these pins here. So they clamp onto those pins. There's another one over there. That's what attaches the front frame to the rear frame. What indexes it is this here, which I think, if I measured right, was like 2.5 by 5 3 somethings inches. I don't know. But you have a hole here. This will be for electronics. So if you're running a snow plow or something, there will be electronics seated deep in here that will mate up to electronics also recessed into here. So the electronics don't stick out, so there's no chance you pinch them. And then here are 2 more indexing slots for these 2 pins here. And there's another 2 over there. These will contact first, so you never have to worry about your electronics getting misaligned. So these will help index and slide on, and then your electronics, if you had any, would plug in. You can also see here is the belt, which you would have to attach to your pulley. This arm is a tensioner. It's very easy because they made it so long. It's very easy to relieve the tension in here, so you've got room for your belt to slide on. Now I will say, this is prototype stuff, right? So right now this is just a rubber ball on top of this. And poor Brody, one of the guys from Yakta, I was over here and he was here, and he was showing me something with his face right here. I was pulling this back and the thing popped off while I was pulling it back, catapulted, almost killed the guy. It wasn't quite that dramatic, but yeah, so there's stuff that's going to be refined. So then you've got to put your pin in once you lock it, and that's what keeps it in place. Now there's still some questions I have about this kind of setup. So if I've got an employee who's not paying attention and he backs it up in this position, are these going to contact these first, and are they going to break? Is this going to start getting deformed? How much tolerance can there be off before things start binding up and I can't attach or detach anymore? How sturdy are the pins that go into here? If one of these pins gets busted, how can I replace it? If some little piece of pebble or something gets stuck in here, is there clearance for these pins to still slot in, or am I going to have to dig that out before I can attach the unit? So there's still quite a few questions I have, but I cannot help thinking this is one of the most robustly built mowers I've ever seen. Is that going to translate into good dealer support? Is that going to translate into a wise investment of $12,500? Is that going to translate into a mower that cuts the grass cleanly and efficiently and in a way that, you know, you're used to from your other mowers? I don't know. I don't know any of that. All I can say is it's a pretty nice looking mower with some pretty neat ideas, and I am a little bit excited to see how it progresses. I was especially concerned when I first saw this, but again, they emphasize that's prototype. They'll figure that out, because I can tell you that will not work with my trailer system. And if it's not going to work on a trailer, what's the point of any of this, right? I'm not going to be able to use it. So we'll see how that looks in the future. Glad to know that they're still actively working on things and not saying, oh, that won't be a problem. Pretty neat machine that I think deserves some screen time here at the Equip Expo. If you've got any other questions, please let me know. Thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate it.